You know, I think about us, the three of us, what we could be. I think about it all the time.
Please. It's terrible.
No, it's not. I know June. She's my friend. I care about her. How's your day going? You look pretty.
Thanks. I wore it just for you. Her father's a driver named Nick. He helped me to survive. Yes, you can, because I can't lose you.
I'm not gonna let anything happen to you.
What about you?
Your girlfriend is a badass.
Welcome to Above the Garage.
Hi, friends. Welcome to our analysis of The Handmaid's Tale, Season 3, Episode 8, which is called Unfit. Let's do our round of introductions and dive in.
Hi, I'm Julia.
Hi, I'm Claudia.
Hi, I'm Marigold.
Hi, I'm Violet.
And I'm Kate. So this episode opens with the familiar sounds of a handmaid birthing. I remember thinking it's not good that we don't know who this handmaid is when I saw it, or I don't recognize her anyway, though her name is Avandi, because I figured we're overdue for a stillbirth. June is standing in a separate room looking absolutely furious. Her voiceover is angry too. Frances was Hannah's Martha, and the time before, Frances was a sales manager for a theatrical supply company. Frances tutored kids after school. Frances was saving up for a trip to the Galapagos. Frances loved my daughter. Frances is dead. And Hannah is gone because of her. And Off Matthew's walking through the room at the time. When Off Matthew tries to say, "Blessed day," Alma cuts her off and says, "Don't talk to her." And then another handmaid runs into her and nearly knocks the linens out of her hands. She's clearly struggling. Everybody's treating her fairly terribly because she got Hannah's mother killed. Then Brianna offers her a glass of water, but at the last second pulls it back and spits in it. It's all like blatantly over the top. It's just kind of funny. Everyone is not concerned about Aunt Lydia at this point, it seems. But Janine sees through it all and tells June that she's being so mean. And June says she got someone executed. She doesn't feel bad about it. She should have kept her fucking mouth shut. And Janine points out she was just doing what Aunt Lydia told her to. June says, "Oh, I know." Yeah, and Janine would be the one to understand, since that's also how she copes. Aunt Lydia tells June to tell her friends to cool it. June says she doesn't know what she's talking about, and further challenges her by offering her to remove her tongue or burn her arm, Lydia's specialties, because she knows she can't while June's such an important part of Fred's TV campaign.
To be honest, there surely is a place at Jude's body where there could be punishments which are not visible. I mean, I wouldn't be this cocky in Jude's position.
Yeah, totally.
Same.
100%.
But I guess the point is June doesn't really fear the physical pain.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't really give a shit.
Yes, that is definitely the point of this episode.
I just had a quick note about June. She's looking like the Godfather or something like that, because everybody's like, all the other handmaids are serving her and protecting her, and it's so funny because she's
not going through the motions at all of like the bird thing that she's supposed to. She's just standing there being the boss.
Yeah,
and angry.
She doesn't do shit.
It's such like middle school pranking drama that they resort to. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just very petty. I mean, it's obviously a horrible thing that happened, but it's just.
I know. I was conflicted about it too.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think it's because they are trained to do that. They are trained to be like these schoolgirls, and are Lydia really learns them to be that again.
Totally.
To shame others. So well.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
How did you know like that information about Frances? Do you think
I had the exact same question?
Yeah.
Lawrence told her, or Lawrence has like a bunch of files at his house, right?
Yeah, she may have looked. I don't know. I was thinking maybe Lydia told her to make her feel worse, like to humanize her more, tell her more.
That could be, yeah.
Frances was a Martha, so maybe she also had just connections to Beth.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very exact information, or very interesting pre-Gilead information. Saving up for a trip to the Galapagos is pretty.
Yeah, it's very specific.
I had another thing because of the Godfather thing. Alma, I thought looked like her right hand, and then she stood at her right side. Like,
I also love Aunt Lydia saying "cool it." Like anytime she says something like she was pumped.
And pumps,
that other episode in episode 6, I guess it was, of season 3. Yeah, I love her using those like, what do you even call that? Those types of phrases that are more like casual or
slang. I guess slang.
Slang. There we go. Yeah.
I'm pumped was like so funny coming out of her mouth.
That was perfect.
Yeah.
Did you think that this birth ceremony seemed kind of different than the one we got to see in season 1?
Like with Janine's?
Yeah, like when we started in this room and all the handmaids go like breathe, and I felt I was in a gym session or somewhere because they were doing like something with their hands the whole time.
Yeah.
What the hell?
It definitely feels a lot different. And I didn't know if that's just because June's, not participating and everybody is misbehaving like crazy. Or I don't know. But yes, it definitely felt very different to me.
I wonder if they change they're still tweaking things as they go. So they might be changing the routines if they feel like, oh, this is more effective or this like looks better. Like,
Let's do a little dance to encourage the baby.
When I was watching this scene, I was like, how annoying to give birth and like
I like the same. That's why I was like,
I know, like, yeah, you most recently gave birth out of all of us.
She might have not minded having friends there in the end.
I mean, that's nice, but I think like all this chanting, like breathe, exhale,
that would drive me insane.
It would get on my nerves pretty. Like honestly,
I wondered why Janine was the one being all close to her, and the only thing I kept coming up was like, was she her walking partner at that time?
I think that's just like Janine, though, right?
Janine's the nicest, so I think
I know.
probably
Maybe
the reason.
I mean, she feels even bad for Matthew, so
right.
Yeah. And she just loves the kids and the bus.
She really loves all of it.
I mean, everything that is kind of different from the daily routine, and a birth clearly is, I think, is very exciting for Janine.
Right.
So she's really enjoying those things, I guess.
She does. She embraces everything she can.
You can kind of relate to that just because what we've said many times about how boring it is there. Like they just, anything that's kind of shaking up your day would be kind of like, oh, finally, like something different to go to.
Like TV. Yay.
Yeah.
All right. So June's daring her to do like physical stuff to her and, basically saying you can't because the Waterfords would be mad. So she takes her to the shame circle, which was laughable to me too at first. I was like, she's not going to care about this at all, which is exactly what happens at first.
Which is really interesting, I think, because that is really, I mean, June has been not in the shaming circle maybe, but when Omar and his family got the consequences for June's escape, Aunt Lydia tried to say it, and it worked back then.
Right. Yeah.
It was your fault that he's dead and she's a handmaid and this boy is not going to see his family again.
Yeah.
And this time she's trying to do the same because it worked
in
the past, but clearly in this scene it didn't.
Different.
Yeah.
We're working with a different June now. And also I think she doesn't blame herself. I think she fully blames Matthew. Maybe. I don't know.
I think so too, but I also think Lydia it's like super diabolical of Lydia because she like watches it not working and then changes her tactic. She's like upping the game to like making it about Hannah and then it starts to work.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that Lydia is scheming within the scene. Like, okay, that didn't work. Let's up the game. Let's go to the next level.
Yeah. I wonder if that was her intention all along because everybody knows at this point Hannah's how you hurt June. But yeah, so then she changes her tactic she points out that she's hurt that little girl Agnes. I'm surprised she doesn't even call her Hannah, but that Martha loved her. Think of that girl without warmth in her life. This time, and then this time when she asks whose fault it was, when June responds, my fault, you can see that, she actually means it and she feels terrible. So Aunt Lydia continues and points out that she had to move her away from all of her friends and her school too. And then she starts yelling at the rest of them and calling them wicked, selfish fools for following June as their example, especially when you have the choice of celebrating the godly, obedient, joyful of Matthew instead. And that gives June a great idea. She raises her hand and says she has something else to testify. She just remembered of Matthew admitting her pregnancy doesn't feel right. So June tells them if Matthew doesn't want her baby. And Janine's reaction is priceless. Did you guys notice that in the background?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, she's like, oh shit.
Janine sees right through what June's doing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Aunt Lydia pushes F. Matthew to testify. And so she succeeded. She switches seats with June and they all shame off Matthew and it's working much better on her. And they're all really into it now, calling her a sinner. And then Aunt Lydia tells her not to be a crybaby. So they all join in chanting crybaby. And after it's over, Matthew's crying, and Lydia says, "You feel better now, don't you?" It's ridiculous. And June's back to not caring.
Of Matthew like admitting that it's because she thinks the baby is a girl and that's why she's worried about this pregnancy. Like that was, I don't know, it was really impactful to me. You've always seen like of Matthew being like a believer, and like she's actually admitting, oh, women and girls have a really shitty life here in Gilead.
Yeah, so that was her first girl?
He thinks that's a girl and she's had boys before.
It just bothers me so much that it takes people having a daughter to understand.
Yeah.
You know, like, I hate when people can't empathize with it. It pisses me off.
Going back for a second to when Lydia was saying about Hannah to June trying to hurt her, she was ripped from her home, her friends, her school, everything she knew. I was like, so you're basically explaining what happened when she was taken away from June originally.
Yeah.
Really?
That's exactly what Gilead did to her the first time.
And thought of it that way, but it is exactly what happened. So Gilead does that all the time.
Right.
Do you think at this point that I mean, I guess at this point she does start to accept more responsibility, but do you guys think that she basically like fully blames off Matthew and not herself?
No, I think that June is just better at like walling off the part that, like, because in season 1, like shame and guilt and stuff would have like really, really gotten to her, like to the point where she was like not able to function. Like in season 2.
Which
season was that?
In season 2.
Season 2. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In season 2, episode 5, like it was shaming her made it so that she basically like, couldn't function and couldn't speak and just like went inside her shell. But now I think that she like knows that she can't do that because she has to be like able to fight and able to continue on the journey, like and anger helps her do that, and putting it away from herself and not thinking about that is the way that she copes with that.
She does give into it for a second because she's really growing up and everything, but then she's like going back to, oh wait, I can use my anger to blame her again.
I think she feels that she just doesn't let it take over anymore. She doesn't let it like consume her.
And she embraces the anger.
It's just weird to me to see that Lydia, she knows that June is like trying to get of Matthew to be the one to be blamed, and she
lets her,
bullying her basically, and still Lydia fully joins in and of Matthew the bad treatment. So
it's weird.
I'm surprised that like Lydia took that bait, you know, like she's smart.
And even afterwards she goes up to June and looks at her. So she knew, but she still felt that she needs to punish her too, of Matthew, I guess.
I think it's more the concern of the baby.
Yeah, probably.
Because like this episode is crafting who Aunt Lydia is and who she's always been. For her, the most important thing is always the kid, the children, not the girls. Like she says, that's just purpose probably to shape the girls so that they can be perfect vessels for perfect babies. And if that's on the line, she will not care if she's shaming of Matthew as well, because she's giving a benefit of the doubt to June, and that's why she put her inside, like in the circle, and asks her, and she breaks instantly. And so Olivia knows, and of course June was taking advantage of the situation, but in the end she was right.
I think that Lydia sees what she's doing as compassion, though, in that moment. Like, I don't think that she's thinking of it as punishment. I think she's thinking, like, this is her, because she says, like, this is where you can free yourself of your sins and, you know, be absolved and all that stuff. Like, I think that she's thinking that she's helping Matthew. It's not so much like, I'm going to go with what June is saying and punish her. It's, I'm going to handle this now so that she can move on from it.
Yeah. But I have a hard time with her chanting crybaby at her and thinking that she's helping.
Yeah.
But
well, that's true.
I mean,
but somehow in her twisted mind, she seems to think that this is like a kindness that she's doing for her. And like the way she touches her face and stuff, it just seems like she thinks that she's being sweet to her or being like motherly or whatever it is that she thinks she's doing.
Yeah. But for me, the big thing is that she always does this. She did it with June before, and now she does it with Matthew, is that mental health for pregnant women is really important because it affects the babies as well. So, but they don't give a shit about that. It doesn't seem that they think about the consequences that could be if someone like of Matthew is like being publicly shamed and breaking down and maybe not recovering from something like that. I mean, she only needs to look back at the moment June broke down and then basically descended into madness and almost lost the baby. So
right.
In 205.
They don't learn from their mistakes.
No, that's true too. I think again, like Lydia, just she's seeing the brainwashing as some kind of a like means to an end. Like if I can like manipulate them, even if it's like mentally manipulate them to behave in her quotes properly, then she can help them, or she thinks she's helping them morally or whatever it is that she thinks. Like, so I think it's so twisted in her mind that,
I mean, if you have faith, you can't be mentally ill, right? If you're mentally ill, your faith is not strong enough.
Right.
Now we get an Aunt Lydia flashback. It's very exciting. So she was Miss Clements back then. She teaches fourth grade, it seems, and there's a boy in class still at 6:15. So it seems like his mom's forgotten to pick him up. Aunt Lydia says she's going to take him home and joyfully quotes, "Don't forget to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels." And when the guy she's biblically flirting with nails the book in the verse, she giggles. And he says he's always liked that verse. So they're cute. They're flirting. His name's Jim, by the way. She asks the boy if he's hungry, and then she tells Jim that the mom sends him with a bag of potato chips for lunch. And right after promising Lydia's world-famous chili, the mom rushes in apologizing. And she tells the boy she'll take him through a drive-through, but he says he's tired of McDonald's. So Lydia invites them for dinner. Not without a diss. Growing boys need more than burgers.
did you guys think about the parallel between this and June with Hannah?
Yeah.
Like the school pickup situation. It just seemed like that was a big way that people were being watched. And
Right.
I definitely like think that in this like time period, I'm assuming it's like not too far before like Sons of Jacob took over everything. I mean, normally like in these cases, like a teacher wouldn't be taking the child home. They would call the police.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
Yeah, because it's not really legal to just like take a kid to your house, right? Like that's not okay.
No, it's not.
I had the feeling that Sons of Jacob are already in there, especially because we have seen that. I mean, it looked like Nick was recruited in 2012, and the takeover was the Crusades were at 2014, I think, if I don't get it wrong now. So they were really long in there already. And I think all the stuff like the hospital scene with June and Hannah, or this one, is already them infiltrating.
Yeah.
The thing that she shows already that she's religious too. So she's really up there to be an aunt. I mean, she was a really good candidate. That's what I was.
She's a great candidate for sure.
Yeah. Do you think that was the reason they probably picked her, that she reported Noelle in the end?
Yeah,
I'm
Stuff
sure.
like that, surely. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they monitored that and saw her history, and the fact that I guess we haven't come to this yet, but the fact that she'd worked in the law, family law and stuff before.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I had kind of a similar thought about the scene that you just said, Claudia, about religion. Like it seemed like, is it with her and Jim like quoting scripture in the school and stuff? It's like,
was it a public school or like a private school?
She said later something about everything being privatized, but in the like family law, I guess. But not the school, but that made me wonder about the timeline, if it was pretty close.
Exactly, that's the thing. Yeah. I'm so sorry for Ryan. How fed up with stuff like McDonald's does a kid have to be? How many times did they have to get that? So he was fed up with McDonald's, because it's like, if my kids hear the word McDonald's, they're like excited and everything. And he's like, no, please give me the homemade chili.
Please, no.
It's so sad.
Yeah. Then at Lydia's house, Ryan's mom, Noelle, is cursing, and she apologizes and tries to tell her story without cursing, but she's not very good at that. But she's a waitress, and she's telling Lydia how somebody grabbed her ass, so she dumped a Long Island iced tea in his lap, and she was late because her boss was chewing her out for that. And Lydia suggests she finds a job around less, and Noelle interjects assholes. Lydia said she was going to say men. And then Noelle asked Lydia if she has a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and Lydia said she was married, but it was a mistake. I'd like to know more about the marriage.
That was shocking.
Yeah,
I
right?
had forgotten that. I was like, what?
I
I
know.
had too. The only like other thing that I remember that we learned about her is she was like the godmother to someone that died,
Yeah.
right? A child that died. But
Mhm.
yeah, I wouldn't mind knowing more.
Her sister's son died.
Right.
I think like what was it, 4 days old or something?
You can see like little bits of Aunt Lydia's character already. Like she didn't blame like the men for like,
Yes.
you know, hitting on her. She
Right.
just suggests she gets a different job. She didn't like
Right.
say like, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
Oh no, it's her fault. Shame.
Yeah.
And then the boy like interjects with the solution to the game they were playing earlier, and Lydia compliments him, and Noelle says he deserves better, but all he has is me. And Lydia tells her that she could be better. Didn't realize that was a rhetorical statement, Lydia.
She's so good at the like, I wrote down kindness manipulation.
Yeah.
Like I feel like she does that thing where she kind of, you know, tries to, it's like the hospitality thing and like here's like a home cooked meal and like hang out with me and I'll help you with your kid. And then she like slips in these like really offensive digs at people and like kind of gets under their skin. Kind of
Her specialty.
yeah, evil genius.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then in current time, she's doing some sort of inspection on the handmaids. I'm not quite clear on that. She's dismissing them one by one. And I think they're supposed to be bowing their heads, but June opts out of that.
I was wondering, like, is it permission to leave? I don't know.
She was checking all their postures first. I think she reschooled them a bit in the after the shaming and stuff. Like
update the certification.
Yeah, exactly. Continued education.
And they were only allowed to leave after really showing the right posture and being meek and everything. And
June did none of that, though.
I think the arrangement of the scenes was really nice because we ended with this quote from Aunt Lydia where she said, "You could be better," and then you get the handmaid. She wants to make better.
Yeah. So back at the Lawrence house, June asks about Hannah or the Mackenzies, and he tells her not to ask him again. He doesn't know where she is. He doesn't know anybody who does. And he tells her to go to her room. And in her room, she voices over, who can remember pain when it's over? All that remains of it is a shadow, not in the mind even, but in the flesh. Pain marks you, but too deep to see. Out of sight, out of mind. And Sienna knocks on the door and surprised to find June awake, but the birthmobile is here. It's time to go back to Of Andes.
It made me so sad because, I mean, when June comes back, Lawrence is the one to speak first for once because he is just a bit cheeky, I guess.
Yeah.
Back so soon. But then June sees her opportunity and asks him, and he shuts her down completely. And I hate the moment she walks up and is like pacing in the hallway and then hitting her head on the doorway and then scratching the wood and trying not to break again. That's the thing we talked about earlier. She doesn't want to break down again. And then we see her lying on the bed with her hair open and scratching on the dusty carpet. And I'm like, how long did she do that? Because it's clearly way later because Sienna thinks she's already asleep. And I was like, she must have gone mad already here because she's like completely trying to not let her feelings overrule her. And
it's sad.
It was an interesting place for that voiceover too, I thought, because of exactly what you just said, like the pain marking you and you can't see it. And it's kind of what she's literally doing to herself during those two scenes. And that whole voiceover is really, that I connected with that a lot. I liked that.
It's just such a small scene, a short one, and you really feel how much pain she's dealing with and that she's not trying to be like in season 2, right?
Right.
I also took it as a way for her to let out her anger just because she was beyond angry. I think the things of Matthew did, which means Hannah is gone and she's unreachable now. Like she doesn't know where she is. Lawrence doesn't even know. At least he says he doesn't know. So that was her goal, right? That was the reason why she stayed. And now this is gone. So like this scratching and this pacing, it was for me like definitely a way for her to kind of vent, but silently vent, not cry or whatever.
Yeah, because if she does that and is not silent and she's going over the emotions again, and then she's letting it too much in, and she can't do that. She wants to have a plan to get Hannah back. I think she's still, and I mean, it's like she loses hope second after second, but she doesn't want to because she stayed to get her out, and she still wants it, and she still tries to have hope to get her out, but the hope is dwindling.
Then at the birth, she's remembering a rhyme she jump rope to as a kid. Tinker, tailor, soldier, sailor, rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief. A game to tell what our children would turn out to be. The list is a lot shorter now. Martha, Jezebel, handmaid, wife. Then Andy is in the final throes of labor, and everyone rejoices when the baby comes out for a brief second. And then they realize there's no crying. The wife is immediately like loudly distraught, and all the handmaids go to Vandy and embrace her, and they form this like beautiful heart from above. Love the cinematography. Lydia ushers F. Matthew out, saying she shouldn't be seeing this, but June walks over and pulls the towel up to look at the baby, and Aunt Elizabeth, I think, shoos her away.
I saw that of Matthew was already like outcasted. She was the only one on the side, while the others chanted for of Andy. And June, of course, June is the only one really off, but she doesn't want to be in there anymore. And she looks on without emotions, even when the baby came out dead. She almost, when the wife started to wail and they had to hold her back and everything, June almost looked pleased. I mean, it fits into her mindset afterwards, where she's saying she felt relief, but it was so eerie to watch that the first time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she's gotten to the point where, I mean, she's just so, I don't know what the word is, like emotionless, heartless, something disconnected. Yeah. Where she's just thinking like, we don't want this baby to even be alive if this is their fate, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Especially it's a girl, right?
Yeah, it was a girl. I was going to say, I feel like
Yeah.
it's very significant that it was a girl too, since earlier of Matthew admitted that she was worried about having a girl, and then
I was so mad when I watched this because the death of this baby could have been prevented.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Like they have the means, right? They have doctors, they have ultrasounds, they have. It's not that they actually live in the 19th century without any medical healthcare. Like, so why are they not checking or like on the babies?
I've always wondered that, because like obviously they have the means, and they have all these prenatal, visits.
Yeah.
And if you want the baby to survive, wouldn't you give birth in a hospital where if there was, if you need a C-section or anything else, like, or emergency services, like, be available? But
it's just their whole concept of going back to the old values and the old traditions and stuff is like very in conflict with modern medicine and science. And so there's this weird conflict there where I guess they're just like, it's God's will. If the baby doesn't live, then we're not going to intervene. Like science won't intervene. I don't know.
It's crazy. Nothing they do makes sense. It just fits with that.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of built a country for the future, for children. Of course, we know it's not really the reason why they did that, but
Yeah, you'd think they'd want to have the best possible care, at least for the babies, at least for the mothers and the babies.
I know.
Why not have a doctor present?
And on that note, why don't they use IVF? You can have a male with a bad sperm count or whatever, and you can still make babies if you use science, I don't know.
Could this maybe be a limitation of the time the book was written? I don't know how long ago IVF was really a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if the book was written before it was as popular. And
it was like the 70s or 80s. It fits anyway because they make bad decisions.
Yeah, or they just think it's like against
unnatural.
Right. They put that.
Of course.
We really want babies, but no, you don't, because you're not actually like looking at all of the medical reasons that there could be a problem.
Yeah. When June gets home, she says, I didn't know what it was that I felt there with Vandy and her baby, but I do now, relief. And Lawrence walks in and adorably asks if it was a boy or a girl, because Mrs. Lawrence will want to know. I don't know why. I thought that was just a very cute question on his part. And then June replies, dead. After a beat, he's like, well, she doesn't have to know that when you tell her. Maybe you could spend some time with her tomorrow playing cards. You're good with her. You're good for her.
And what do you tell her if she wants to
visit? I know. She's going to hear at some point.
What's the name?
Yeah.
But he says that she's good with her. She's good for her. So he's being like very nice. And June points out, you act like you care about your wife. I know you don't give a shit about the rest of us, but you do realize that this world you built here is destroying her, and that with one phone call you could have her out, but you're keeping her hostage. You're not protecting her, you're killing her. And he just responds, I bet that felt good, and leaves. My note was just June is having an extra pissed off episode. Has she ever been I think she has angry episodes.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not ones so much where she seems so happy about it afterwards. Like,
yeah,
she's like gleeful afterwards, which is kind of like how she was when she slapped Fred. Like, she gets this like just like maniacal smile right after she does that.
I had the note that she is laughing, but she doesn't look genuine with it, because she's like, she has a really bad week, month, whatever, and she's just lashing out on everybody. I mean, we know she even lashed out on Nick a few episodes before. And she's like basically pushing everybody away because she doesn't give any shits anymore. And she notices that Lawrence is trying to be nice to her, and she's like, no, I just want to be mad at everybody. And I think afterwards she's like almost regretting it, because she knows she needs him as an ally. But still, it felt good in that moment, as he pointed out. But
as he said,
yeah.
But I feel like she also like really does care about Mrs. Lawrence. I mean, obviously, like her delivery, she was angry, but like she's right. He could be doing more for his wife.
Sure.
I feel like he doesn't even give her credit when he's like, well, just don't tell Mrs. Lawrence that the baby was dead.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he get her out? Can he that easily get her out?
I'm sure he could.
Yeah.
If he could with Emily.
I mean, if you look at her side, Mrs. Lawrence, I don't think she would really know what to do without him, right?
Yeah, who would take care of her?
Yeah, alone in Canada, I think she would be lost. And he would be arrested if they leave together.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, she would get the proper medication, but she would have lost him, so it's not a win.
Yeah.
Either way.
Then we see the aunts at work behind the scenes looking at files, and Lydia says the Carvers are quick to anger, so we need someone quiet and calm for their handmaid. And someone suggests Sonia, and she says, well, no, they don't want one of color. But Sonia would be good for the Holbecks. Now, what about of Andy, who just had the stillborn child? Her current family doesn't want her anymore, and word of her failure would have gotten around. And Lydia uses this to talk some more shit about June. She wonders why God would reward a bad seed like June and withhold his blessings from a good girl like Vandy. And they all toast over June being a bad apple. What are they drinking, by the way? I don't know my liquor or
like wine.
Yeah,
it's like wine, like a red wine. With of Andy, if her family had wanted her to stay there, they would have tried again to have a baby, I guess. So that's interesting, because I kind of figured that they would move her on to the next place regardless. But I guess it's just the 2 years, right? So she didn't succeed, but they could have chosen to keep her for the rest of her time frame, whatever.
That's true.
I think the 2 years are like, you think that they are not compatible if they don't get pregnant together.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Like if they're not pregnant by that time, they move on. Okay. I also really like seeing the ants working. That was just, I love all those like Gilead behind the scenes things like that. Like,
I
need to get more Nick of that.
Yes.
And it's one of the first times they mention, I think in the book, it looked like they had no black women as handmaids at all.
I think
there were no black people or any left because
exactly.
Scarlett said that they sent them to the colonies, maybe.
Yeah, the women were sent to the colonies, but I think the men were just killed.
Of course, in such a culture, there were people saying that no, I don't want that handmaid. Yeah, it's just gross.
Then they're having Christmas together. Ryan's opening a gift from Aunt Lydia and asks if it's an iPad, and she says it's what we had before iPads, and it's a book. Ryan gives Lydia their gift, and it's a makeup set. Lydia says that that's one reason she loves working with children, so she doesn't have to deal with this nonsense. And Noelle says, well, it'll get you out there. You can't be alone. Lydia says, I'm not alone. Noelle says, well, you deserve someone special. And I picked out every color special for you. Use my employee discount. I wonder if she got a different job at Lydia's prodding, or she might also just have multiple jobs. But I think it's sweet that she picked out the colors for her. And Lydia gives in and lets her apply the makeup, and Noelle's like teaching her as she goes. Lydia asks about a guy, and Noelle says she kicked him to the curb, but she met someone new in IT. He has 2 kids of his own, and then cringe, and he says he's going to leave his wife. Lydia takes it pretty well, though, and admits Noelle's making an effort to be better. Not sure how the affair with a married man implies that, but
yeah, I think that's the thing she always held against June, right? Like,
yeah.
This one scene where she said, "Oh yeah, you stole another woman's man." I think that was also the scene was probably the only scene where I heard a very lovable Aunt Lydia.
I was gonna say, did you guys notice that?
Yeah. Like very genuine. That's the first
That was
time.
so weird to me. They're like calling her Aunt Lydia before anything with Gilead. Like that was so interesting. Like she's already got the name.
Oh, I missed that. So like Ryan called her that?
Thanks Aunt Lydia, like for the gift. And I was like, oh, he's calling her Aunt Lydia like already for a different reason. But
maybe the reason why I was so taken aback by her not talking to her with judgment about the guy thing, because she really held back on that one.
Yeah,
and
I was surprised.
Not the Aunt Lydia I know.
I was surprised too.
But it seemed like they like had a close relationship.
So then Lydia is all fancied up and she's meeting Jim. It is apparently New Year's, and Jim convinces Lydia to drink some champagne against her will. And we learn that teaching is Lydia's second profession. She started out in family law. She said the system now is better because it's all been privatized, but it was harder to help the children back then. And Jim compliments her devotion, a compliment she probably ate right up. And she admits she's fond of him too. They say grace and eat, and later it's karaoke time. Jim's singing Islands in the Stream, but he needs a duet partner, and everyone's pushing Lydia on stage. The Dolly Parton to his Kenny Rogers. Who of you started this episode thinking they'd be getting Aunt Lydia karaoke the first time?
Wow. That scene like makes me so cringy because I hate when people do that to me. Like,
it's the worst.
I mean, it like basically never happens to me anymore. But like anytime somebody is like, "No, come on, you come do this," like, oh, it's just the worst. So I was just sitting there like, Aunt Lydia, this is so sad. Like, again, feeling bad for the villain. This sucks. I know the situation
because she had to do karaoke.
They really do this so well, right?
They do.
Also, I love her makeup, I love her hair, and I love her sequined cardigan.
Oh, she looks beautiful. Yeah,
she does
look beautiful. Like that. And they're dancing later, and Lydia's having like the night of her life. And then it's midnight, and he kisses her cheek. And then they're back at her place. It must be really late. So that was like a big decision. And we learn his wife died 3 years ago, and his son couldn't make it home for Christmas. So they make plans for him to come over to our house next Christmas. And they sit on the couch next to each other, and they're kissing. And Lydia gets really into it, and her hands are on his pants. I don't know if they're in there yet, but he pulls away, and she like gets up and apologizes, and she's clearly humiliated. And he says he had a great time. It's just too soon for him, and she's really upset. And he even says like, "I'd love to see you again." Like he wants to like date her still. And she says she'll see him at school. And then she's crying in the bathroom, and then she's breaking the mirror. So even pre-Gilead, she had this embarrassment and rage thing, and hurting other people because of her embarrassment, because of the next scene.
I think like it's a very interesting like layered scene because it just shows again how I think it's showing partly her shame over her own desires. Like she's like not supposed to act like that in her mind. Like she's probably sinning in her mind to be like that with him, to be kissing him like that and reaching down his pants. So I feel like there's, it's that defensive thing that she does where she has personal shame and guilt and conflict over her own beliefs. And then the only way that she can cope with that being like in so much opposition from like her actions is if she makes it about other people. It's other people's fault. It's like, he rejected me and that's why I'm upset. Not like I'm upset because I feel shame for what I did. And his rejection highlighted the shame of how I feel, even though his rejection was actually like very kind and like was done in a very, I thought, like nice way. I mean, it made sense what he said. So it wouldn't have made sense for her to take it that hard. Just that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I see it as the same. Like for me, it was not just the rejection that caused her outburst there, and also what followed up after this. It really is that she lost control, I think.
Yeah.
That's something she doesn't like.
Right.
I'm going back to the part where she's saying the family law is now privatized ever since she left. So she was there when it was public. And I wanted to ask you guys, because I'm not in the US and I don't know how it's working right now.
It can be public and private.
Okay.
You have to work with low income families and like child protective services. And it's also interesting to me, I don't want to get too far ahead, but like in this next scene, like you can definitely see that Gilead has already like changed a lot of the laws and how like the institutions are working, because child protective services would not move that fast in that case. Like I have unfortunately had to call child protective services multiple times and they usually don't do much. It takes a lot for like a worker to actually go out and investigate a case. So like, yeah, I don't know. It's very different from what
she's showing. Yeah, because for me, I have a friend that works in the sector in Austria, so I get a bit of that. I mean, not too much, but just the how it's working. And she's like, you have to do a lot to get your child taken away from you. And her saying that it's now privatized was really a big hint that they already had Gilead move, or the Sons of Jacob move into the country and taking over a lot of those faculties, right? I mean, the woman in the hospital that questioned June was from Child Protection too, right? It looked like that.
I think so, yeah. Social services, something. Yeah.
So she was probably part of that privatized company.
Which could also like be that the schools are then too, like going back to what you were saying before, that maybe they have privatized all the schools and it's just they're taking away all the public services and stuff.
So they can do more and take charge if something is not like they wanted to, right?
Yeah, both her and Jim were quick to, know the Bible. So that would imply that maybe it's a school that is using that now. Perhaps religion's allowed in school like it is in America now. So the next scene is her doing everything in her power to remove Ryan from his mom because she gave her some makeup and encouraged her to date. Man, what a fucking bitch.
And she's actually wearing the makeup in the scene too. Did you guys?
Oh, I did not notice that.
Yeah, man. I'm pretty sure because she looked like she had more like lipstick and stuff on than before.
And like Jim's trying to stop her, and then we hear like once it's done, they say he's been taken to foster care. And Noelle's barging into the school yelling, "How could you do this to us?" And Lydia tells her this is your fault. Very Aunt Lydia-esque. And Noelle tells her she's ruining his life, you fucking cold-hearted bitch. And Jim's looking at her like she's a monster too. And he turns around and leaves. And Aunt Lydia is fully born, it seems. She lifts her head, adjusts her cardigan, and walks back into the classroom. And it's horrifying to me that she had this kid taken away, that she was, that she had a relationship with this family. Like, he's not better off in foster care. I get that his mom has a hard time and she's not the perfect mom or even a great mom, let's say. But it should take so much more to merit taking a child out and putting them with strangers that you have no idea.
Yeah, he could be worse off.
Well, you can see how much the mom cared.
And
because she was like, she loved him. And then also she was hanging out with Aunt Lydia and trying to take her advice and trying to
be better,
getting a job and
get a better job, make her life a little bit more supportive for her son.
Right. She was trying.
Yeah. So she obviously cared enough about her kid to make that effort. And then, it's awful.
Yeah. Not to relate it too much to like current circumstances. It's hard not to sometimes. What supports were there for, Noelle? Like, she's obviously a single mother, like struggling, and I just feel like that's the case now, like, especially with Roe versus Wade being overturned. What extra supports are we going to give these women so that,
None. They don't care. They don't care about the consequences. Let's just create this world of babies that no one can take care of and not worry about the consequences thereafter. And it's fucking insane to me. Like, you cannot say you're pro-life when you literally don't give a shit as soon as the baby's born.
Yeah.
It's just so insane to me that they truly believe that they're pro-life, doing what's right for God and the world, and you're...
Yeah, I know. I'm
so upsetting.
Agree with you.
We're going to end up with Gilead, but without the fertility problems, we're going to be in a Gilead overrun with babies that can't be taken care of.
We're doing the exact same thing, except we don't actually have even the fertility crisis to blame it on. Like, we don't even have that to say.
Yeah. And they don't give a shit about the environment because they've just made it harder. They don't even care about their own grandchildren. That's what I can't fathom. Making it harder to take care of the environment. Like, this whole session is just fucking mind-blowing. Like, every single day getting a pop-up on my phone saying, oh, they've just invited religion back in school. They've expanded gun access right after
the comment I made on Twitter.
Which comment?
When you were tweeting about that they don't care about the environment.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And they have like a lot of guns and I meant it ironically, sarcastic.
Yeah.
But you do need guns if you need to fight for the last available spot of livable space there that is not ruined.
Yeah.
And also, like, all those lost babies and kids, they will grow up in poverty, which means criminal activities will rise again. So
And do you realize actually, like, right now we're having extreme formula shortages?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've read that.
What are these, this is really the time that you think that we should be having more babies, right?
Yeah.
And then I
literally
half of them will just die from
malnutrition.
Yeah.
Are they just gonna die? Are we gonna let them die? Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I literally thought about that the other day when we were which episode where Luke was getting the formula. And it was really expensive. And I was like, this is the same fucking thing happening.
It is. There's so many parallels.
Seriously.
I have a friend in New York that literally every time I go to the grocery store, we're supposed to like look for the formula because her friend can't find it. And so like all of her friends all over the US are like looking for this formula for this baby.
Right.
And I had no idea that was happening until she said that. But yeah, it's totally insane.
No, it's really
they just didn't pass a law that would have given more access to mothers to pump at work. But the Republicans did not pass that bill.
Wait,
how are they supposed to feed their babies if they can't pump and there's no formula?
Oh my
and there's
God.
no parental leave that will guarantee you that you get a job.
Actually, the stupidity of Gilead is also relevant because they are that stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. I hope we keep all of that. I hate everyone. All right. Okay. All right.
Back to the episode.
Yes.
When they are saying he's in a proper foster home and there is a long list of wonderful couples who are desperate to adopt, and I'm like, yeah, the whole fucking Gilead people, the baby stealer and everybody, that's where Ryan is ending up, right? I mean, the thing I have to say about Aunt Lydia here is she's not fully in yet because she's still affected. She's almost crying when she said, yeah, so many people, so much love to give. But the urge to protect the kid is so much stronger, and it ties still to this day where she's doing everything for the kids and going over dead bodies,
ignoring the mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But even then, like, she's obviously not really thinking about what's best for that kid because, like we said before, what's best for the kid is not foster care.
It's being loved, like truly loved.
Yeah. I think she was doing that in the beginning, talking to the mom and trying to support them and stuff. Like, that was more like that. But then at this point, she's just like...
Yeah, because there are nice people that want to raise the baby right and proper, right?
Right.
The kid, not the baby.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That she's thinking of it as like she's doing them a favor because she's putting them with the right kinds of people. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is her like losing control on Janine, like pre-Gilead, you know?
Yes.
Like she's going insane and rageful, taking it out on.
And I realized that Lydia is saying, this is your fault, Noel. So,
yeah,
totally.
And Lydia is there.
She wants to punish the mom. She wants to punish women. She doesn't want to punish the children. But she's by like a result punishing the child by punishing the mom. So it's wonderful.
I want to shout out the makeup and costume department here a little.
Yeah.
Because I really like what they did with Lydia in the beginning of the flashback when she had let her hair loose and had this white blouse and very joyful and caring character at first, I think. And then here in the end, she already had her hair tied up and she's wearing this cardigan, so like less sinful clothes like also like a little brownish color like the aunt
she's
get up. So I really like that they flashed that out.
They're amazing. So back to current time, she's saying Lydia's saying that they never had trouble with June before the Waterford house, and which I'm like, I know we're never going to, but I'd love to know about the house before the Waterford house. But I realized it's far too late for us to get into that. And they run through all the trouble that she's caused since then. Lydia says, sometimes it's the apple, but sometimes it's the barrel. And then they like ominously close the folder on the Lawrence household. And June's under her red umbrella in the snow, pretty as always. The red in the snow, I love. And her voiceover says, I hurt her and I enjoyed it. The wives and aunts too, grieving over Avandi's dead child, and Lawrence, they all deserve to suffer. It's an acquired taste seeing others in pain, like that smoky scotch Luke got as a gift once. I grew to like that. And I love seeing the view from her under her wings, like the arch kind of that she sees out. Have we seen that before? I'm sure we have, but I noticed it here. But yeah, it's just interesting because I remember when I was reading the book trying to imagine what the wings like were and what you would see under them. So it's a cool shot. She says, I finally know how Auckland felt, what made her put on that bomb vest. And Aunt Lydia calls June. They're in the supermarket. And she says, and I know how Emily felt right before she stuck a knife in Lydia's back. And Aunt Lydia said she's preyed on her and she thinks she's let her down. She thinks it's time to get her out of the Lawrence household. It's become quite clear that they're dangerously unorthodox. And June does not want to leave the Lawrence household. She said he requested her personally, and she sees, but as they're having this discussion that's like fading out, she sees of Matthew breaking down behind Lydia. And then of Matthew starts beating Janine with a can. Jesus, why is it always Janine?
Yeah, I had the same note. Janine.
Yeah, like I read she's like Neville. I always felt like that with Neville and Harry
Oh,
Potter.
that's so true. That is like, oh.
But Neville didn't. I feel like Janine's gonna have like permanent brain damage at this point. And June, I think, is encouraging of Matthew as much as she can with her facial expressions when she picks up a gun and June looks at Lydia and then looks back at her and nods. And then she trains the gun on Lydia, which is kind of exciting. I remember being really excited when I watched it the first time. But she gets shot first, so damn. And Lydia did use her real name, Natalie, to try to get through to her, but it was too late. And then Lydia's yelling, oh God, oh no. And the Guardians are dragging the seemingly dead of Matthew out of the store with the blood leaving a trail behind her. And June is just doing the June thing this episode, staring out after her, like, uncaringly. And then they start playing What Will Be, Will Be.
I love how Aunt Lydia, like, I mean, I don't know if love is the right word, but it's just very interesting to me how Aunt Lydia will use the real names when, like, she's clearly self-aware about the fact that they're, like, of names are just a crazy brainwashing mask situation. Right. And she has to like reach the real person that's inside there. So she knows how fucked up that is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's almost worse when you realize how self-aware she is about it. Like in those moments, because you're like, you're not just totally buying this. Like Aunt Lydia knows what she's doing.
That's how I felt too.
Like, what do you guys think is like the straw that broke of Matthew's? You know, like what made her snap?
I think she was still reeling from the shaming because it's the first time we saw her after. That's really for real because after the shaming she was like holding back from everybody and hiding even at the birth.
But like, why specifically like in Loaves and Fishes, do you think? Because like we overheard Lydia talking to June or to the other aunts about her being moved to a different posting. Like, do you think that what set her off?
Oh, I mean, June, she tries to be nice again to June and she goes up to her in the snow scene. And she's really worried that June will be angry at her still. And June gives her a cold shoulder. And that was, I think, one other drop. And then Janine talking about the shaming, that was another drop. And I think it just filled up and she was already losing it.
Yeah, I don't think there was like a specific trigger in the store necessarily. I think it was just, although those fluorescent lights can't be helpful if you're about to snap.
No colors and
but yeah, I think it was just too much. She had just been traumatized by everyone. I mean, she's been like, you know, everybody was being mean to her in different ways, and then the shame circle, and then she felt like I think she wasn't able to do her coping mechanisms anymore that she had been doing before and putting up that wall.
And she had so much already on her back before, but she could still shut it off. But I mean, she had to give away 3 kids already, and now the 4th one is on the way. It's like you have to break at some point being faced with everything like that.
Right. I also thought it was weird how they took this long to figure out that maybe putting June in Lawrence's household was like maybe not the greatest plan for Gilead.
Not only
Yeah.
not only June, but any handmaid, because
Right,
they
right.
are really like, maybe it's not the apple, it's the barrel, and I think it's
Yeah.
not that good to have a baby in that household.
Literally.
That was
Yeah,
like,
yeah. She's like, oh, we've come to realize that it's dangerously unorthodox. You've come to realize that.
and even with his wife, they are like, and well, she can't even really care for a baby, and I'm like, yeah, why do you keep putting handmaids in that household?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's again their lack of care for mental health. Like they just dismiss it completely, and she's not able to get the medication she needs, and so I don't think that it takes something extreme for them to even consider that as a factor.
Oh yeah, I found it. I mean, it's not a funny scene, but the way that Lydia screams no and then oh no, like she's annoyed that another
It is funny,
pregnant handmaid is like down on the floor.
Yes, that was notable to me.
Like it's gonna look bad. That's how
Yeah,
it will be her fault, right? It will be on
This is gonna
Lydia's
look
fault.
bad for me, right?
Yeah,
we know that from why she lashed out at Janine a few episodes earlier, because she was already on Gilead's bad side.
They blame her family.
Yeah, they blame her family, and they will blame her for Matthew as well.
Did anybody notice that the Guardian is probably dead?
Yeah.
Because I thought he might be just unconscious. And then I noticed that there was blood everywhere behind him. And I had never noticed it. I thought she just knocked him out. But yeah, I think she took one out with herself. So that's one win, I guess.
Maybe. Depends on what that guy was doing. Maybe he was Mayday,
yeah,
though.
maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't know, right?
He could have been another Nick.
Stop it.
Sorry. I'm just
it's true. We were all thinking
yeah,
about
we don't know.
guy,
We don't know. Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
know. I really, 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 really loved this the shots when she had this gun and we are in her position and we see the panic, like how far they moved around and who's she going to shoot. I love that. It was really, really well executed.
Yeah,
you could see the wings and stuff, the way they framed it over. Yeah, it was cool.
Okay, I think that's a wrap on our spoiler-free analysis of this episode. If you are a new watcher of the show, you probably want to go now before we talk about the episode in the context of the show to date. If you're a longtime fan, stick around. Okay, deep dive notes?
Yeah, I have two. My first one is actually just referencing the very next episode, where it's the episode where June is just in the hospital with Matthew for the entire episode. And I just thought it was interesting to see how in this episode you kind of see June already going crazy, like pre-isolation. So she's pretty much like primed to lose it.
Yeah, she's nearly there.
Yeah. And I think the whole thing with, Frances's death and then losing track of Hannah and the timing of all of that happening and then of Matthew and then her having to go to the hospital, like it just really set her up to be. I saw some moments in this where she was kind of like, that scary smile look that she had in the next episode over of Matthew's bed and stuff. So I just thought that was interesting because I hadn't really noticed that before, I guess, that you can see the seeds of it in this episode. Like they were prepping her to be as unstable as possible in the next one.
And it makes so much sense too, with losing track of like where her daughter is, period. That's hopeless.
Right.
We've known she's close at least at all times. And now she's gone.
Right. It's like when you're, I don't know, for me, like if I'm walking around in a city or something and I like lose track of where I am, like if I get where my sense of direction is off, then I just feel like totally out.
You're unmoored. You're
which is how it's like Hannah is her like North Star compass, like heading.
Exactly,
she can be like, that's where she is. I know she's there. As long as I know she's there, then I can like go on. And
right.
So as soon as she loses that, she's just floating aimlessly and
without Nick to help her either. Hannah's more important, but also like Nick's in some faraway place she doesn't know either.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, he might be dead.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, she doesn't know where either one of them are.
Yeah.
That's so true.
It always has the first hints of her being suicidal, right? I mean,
yeah,
definitely. Because she was like, I don't think she would have cared if she was going to get shot there because she was like, come on, do it.
Yeah.
First, before she nodded to Aunt Lydia, because I think it was an afterthought.
Yeah.
But she isn't right there, I guess, but we know next episode she's basically wanting to die. So, and then one thing that ties to that is the fact that the last shot when June just walks into the aisle where of Matthew was just dragged out of, and there's the blood trail.
Yeah.
Steps over it, and it looks like it's behind her. There's the blood trail, and she literally started to leave a trail of blood from the last episodes to where she ends up in end of season 4, episode 10.
Yay!
Yeah, we had it.
We did it. We brought the finale in.
I love it.
That is a really interesting point.
Yeah.
My only other deep dive note was just about using Hannah to torture June, because the shame circle was kind of like a hint of that, of bringing that up and saying, this is your fault that this happened to her. And then obviously in 403, when they bring Hannah into the box and use that as a way to finally break June, that's just, I guess, one of the seeds of them realizing that's the way to do it, and that's the only thing that's going to work for her is use her daughter against her, and then she'll break.
She wasn't going to give up the location of the handmaids until Hannah was
exactly
online. So.
She was going to endure whatever other tortures they threw at her until that one, and that was the one she couldn't take.
Yeah,
and it always annoys me that Janine doesn't understand that.
Yeah,
in the milk car, because she would have done that for Caleb, and anyone would do that at that point. Also, she held out for a week. They had plenty of time to move. I don't understand why they stayed there. Clearly, she's
where
the handmaids. I blame it on them for not moving. Clearly, like they were going to torture her for the location. She bought them like days.
I mean, they needed to wait, I guess, for an okay for the next safe house. I mean,
that's true.
It was not in their hands.
I mean, they waited for their leader, right? The mob boss.
Right.
Yeah.
When Nick tells her that Hannah's back at the Mackenzies in 4-3, he must know that she lives in Colorado then, right? Assuming she's been there ever since this episode, right?
Yeah, I think
unless
so.
the cut stuff in season 3. So,
I was about to say that
they must have been somewhere around Chicago.
But on that note, we talked earlier about the relocation of Hannah. That at least we got Nick in season 4 who found out where she's living now, and who got also this information to June.
Yeah.
So, but how long did this take? I mean, over one season until she finds out where she is now.
Yeah.
Quite some time. She doesn't know where she is. Yeah.
They could also have moved more than once, right? I mean, we don't know for sure that they just went directly to Colorado Springs. They could have had some other placement first and then gotten there eventually. And also like that's so far away, and the way that Gilead works with like keeping the district so isolated, that seems like it would be information that would take a long time to get back or to get from anyone. But I guess like depending on how the records work, like who keeps records and where they're kept, and
I still wonder why they didn't move June. They moved the whole household.
Right.
A commander away from his district to get Hannah safe. And I mean, we know that they don't care that much about the kids. So I don't know why.
Maybe if they thought that if they moved her, she would still know their location.
She'd still know where she is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like if Lawrence didn't know where the Mackenzies were, Nick really had to have done a lot of digging to find out where they were.
A deep dive.
Yeah, I mean he does. Yeah, and I know that he rises the ranks too. But just another little plug for Nick that he really had to work hard.
Yeah, he put in the work for sure.
Yeah, I mean he had to like get people in the neighborhood to take pictures of her. That's pretty
right. That's a lot of work.
Yeah,
that's a lot of work. How do you like source those people?
And how do you was a Martha chain goes across the country? Like I've always wondered that. I really want to see that so bad.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It shows that he has good ties to Mayday and the Martha Network or the Resistance or whatever, because otherwise he couldn't have done that and wouldn't know who are the right people to talk to without getting revealed. And we know he's good at that. And I think it shows again that he's actually working with them. Right?
Yeah, definitely. He must have like contacts that can then make contacts and like make the chain across to Colorado.
I wanted to just backtrack a little again to Hannah in the box. What's in the box? No, sorry. Anyways, because we were talking about Aunt Lydia, how that she knew that Hannah is practically June's only weak spot. So do you think Aunt Lydia thought about using Hannah as, well, a threat in season 4, episode 3 before? And if so, why not, or why did she?
No, Lydia looks really distraught when June comes down to the stairs and is led to Hannah. I don't think she's accepting any of that, but she can't tell, right? She can't just go to them and say, you can't do this. So
right, that's true. And I think she physically bringing Hannah there becomes like that's a different kind of thing. That's like torture for the child too, which is her whole thing is, you know, she'll torture June, but not the child.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I think that probably wakes her up a bit too, right? I mean, I think it shook her that they were going that far and take a child out.
It's probably also one of the catalysts why she begins to change in season 4, I think. There's like tiny little pieces throughout the season, I think, where we see that Aunt Lydia is not 100% behind everything that's going down there anymore.
I mean, she starts to really realize that it is the power, not the children. Like we've been saying, like she's seeing that they really don't care. Like they wouldn't hurt a child or whatever, but then she sees that they are literally hurting a child by doing that. So that's maybe eye-opening for her, even though she should have seen that way earlier. But she was just able to like convince herself that it was still for the children, and because that was what she personally cared about.
Yeah. My deep dive note was when June, you know, said that Lawrence could get Eleanor out of this place. It made me think like, okay, maybe he really couldn't, like without a lot of repercussions. But then I was like, but he could get her medication because he is obviously very powerful. And then I forget which episode it is, but after June and Lawrence are forced to have sex, he gives June a morning after pill. So he obviously has access to those things.
Yeah.
So it just always made me like wonder, like, why hasn't he tried to get her medication?
Yeah.
I think it depends on the stuff that is brought into the country through the black market people. And I think that the contraception stuff is a little more valuable.
Yeah, I guess.
Wouldn't there be pharmacies like all over the place that still have that medicine in them that could be accessible by?
Yeah,
maybe.
But like, there's like 25 CVS's in my town, and if Gilead happened, they're not going to clear out all the medicine, right? So they exist.
Yeah.
That's the only, if they cleaned it out, then
yeah, I would think that they
and
would.
they probably did,
or sell it to another country or something.
Yeah.
But I do think you're right though, that it would be easier for him to get medicine than to get her out, and that is something that he should be pursuing.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah. My first point would be that Alma seems to take the place of the right hand of June in that episode, and we see throughout the season, and I mean that in season 4 until rest in peace, that she is her right hand, right? I mean, Janine is her best friend, I guess, or something like that, but she's not capable of being the one that's calling the shots next to June. So that was the first hint of Alma taking a bit of power alongside June. So I like that.
It's really interesting because in season 1, Alma was kind of more
powerful,
the rebel leader, because she was already part of Mayday or had contacts with people from Mayday and brought June in.
And June took over.
Yeah.
Then I have to point that Noelle is basically Janine 0.1, because she, all the time I thought like, this is basically Janine. And then later on we get to see her flashback episodes, and she was basically the same person, right? Maybe the thing that Lydia took such a liking on her because she
was similar to Noelle.
She's probably in a similar like economic situation too. Like she was working the server job.
Exactly. And then I found a sentence that made me chuckle a bit, because Lydia says, "If Matthew is pregnant, the Calhoun's baby must be protected." I mean, we know how that turned out, right? And the baby is premature and almost dies and everything. So that was a bit of a foreshadowing, I guess.
Right, and they make a big deal out of protecting that baby though in the hospital.
Exactly.
I have one last sad note on the files the aunts were looking at. I had clearly Nick's file in the back of my head when they were looking through all of this. And that there's a file of him now.
Yeah.
With a fucking picture with his new wife.
Yeah.
He will have a folder now, a file, Commander Blade, and his name and the name of his wife. And I hope it will not be a combination of Finding a Handmaid.
No, stop.
No, please.
Don't go there.
Please.
I'm still hoping for a Janine Handmaid situation.
That's acceptable.
But the wife has to be on board too, right?
Of course. Yes.
A rebellious wife and a Janine Handmaid. Yes.
Yes, please.
I really want to see Nick and Janine together. I have to say,
that's
my main motivation for wanting that is I
just don't mean in the way we were just talking about, right?
No. I want to see
you
them
sound like it.
I want to see them have a conversation.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
I have so much hope for that. Truly.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome.
I have hope for Nick and Moira now.
Same. I feel like I actually can't really decide which one would be better. If I had to pick between Nick and Janine and Nick and Moira, I don't know which I'd pick.
I think Nick and Moira would be more interesting because Janine's Janine, and I love her, but I think Nick and
but she's like June's best friend though. Like in Gil, they're both June's best friends.
Yeah, that's true.
I want to get him to get her out because it would mean so much to June, and it would be another confirmation.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Loyalty and his love, so everybody can go and fuck off afterwards.
That would be huge. And he always gets her the best gifts. So giving her
Season 5, episode 9.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, I think that's a wrap on our deep dive into this episode. We'll see you guys on Monday for season 3, episode 9. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.